What's going on, my boxing brothers and sisters? It's another edition of Major Key Monday, August 23rd, live weekend of boxing. But with boxing, talking about legends like Manny Pacquiao, you know what I'm saying? Maybe may have to go into retirement, things of that nature. We start thinking about legends from the past, man. So we have a special guest here today, Mr. Calvin, the boxing banker Brock. You know what I'm saying? In the building. What's going on, brother? How you been?
Hi, everybody. Uh, I'm doing well. Taking care of wife, kids, running behind the family. Both of them involved in sports. Both of them playing basketball. My daughter good to play AAU, kind of like travel ball, and my son just started flag football for the season now. And then school and working, and running a couple of companies, and that's it.
Sound like an interesting man, like a very busy man, and your resume says so. So we're gonna dive a little deeper into that. But first, for anybody that's not really up to speed with who Calvin Brock is, tell people a little bit about yourself. What got you into boxing, and what motivated you to actually make a professional career out of it.
Well, I'm Calvin Brock, 2000 Olympian, number one ranked world professional heavyweight championship boxer. Uh, I turned, I began boxing in 1987, given two sets of gloves for a Christmas present. I asked God what He wanted me to do with my life, and He showed me through them two sets of gloves as a present when I was 8, and started with my neighborhood friends, and then He laid it on my heart one day. That's what He wanted me to do with my early career. So got started when I was 12 and never looked back. And, succeeded and, been a national champion several times over as an amateur, and then making the 2000 Olympics in Sydney, Australia, and then turning professional in 2001 and building a 29-0 undefeated record, ranked number one in the world, and challenged against Vladimir Klitschko in 2006 for the world title on his first title defense, and he was just coming into his season. So I'm one of the heavyweights that you might hear about, that fell in the Klitschko era. One of the heavyweights that was
Yeah,
really good, but didn't become world champion because I was in the Klitschko's era.
right.
Yeah.
Right, that's tough for anybody because there was a lot of people that Klitschko era, kind of derailed. But like you said, you were undefeated, and actually, 2006 Ring Magazine's Knockout of the Year versus Zuri Lawrence.
Correct.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of quite disappointing. You go so far, but some big things going to happen. The thing is, with boxers, a lot of boxers utilize all that media and worldwide attention that they receive, the press. And, it takes doing something again to get that press, but I got some things in the works business wise with this new company and venture here that is going to, put a bright light on boxing, that boxing can do well after their careers and even better after their careers than in their careers. So a lot of that press is going to come back, and it's to be a result of making it to the top of boxing. The press.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I gotta say, I gotta be honest with you, man. That was impressive to actually have the career that you had at the beginning, to the point, and you were lucky enough to be someone who got a degree in finance. So I know we're going to definitely be talking about that side of your business life. Uh, but right now, what would you say is the difference from the since you understand business is the difference from prior to the internet age where we have it to with all this social media and all this coverage and all these conspiracy theories and everything that's going on. Would you say that there's a major difference right now impacting the business and how that works versus when you were in the fight game?
Well, the fight game and business is totally different now. Wait, honestly, you know what? I would say that boxers should be able to make more money and become more household names now because they have so much social media outlets to market themselves and get followers. And that's evidenced by the YouTube sensations that Floyd Mayweather just boxed against. Those guys weren't no real boxers; they were just some YouTube fans and YouTube stars. So that goes to show you that what social media can do. So if boxers use the social media correctly, they have a more of an advantage today than what I did back when I was boxing, when it was just the internet. And if you had marketing, you had to pay for it. And outside of your promoter and outside of the production companies. So today, I think it will make more sense, not to be certain though, that boxers should be able to get their names out there more and have a more luxurious and financial career than what I did.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just about how you leverage it, right? How do you quantify that amount of followers that you have? How do you turn that into into money, into currency? But yeah, man, I'm not gonna be greedy with the questions though. We got Troy Grizzy in the building, of course. My co-host, my brother. What's going on, Troy?
Blessings, man. Happy to be here. Definitely happy to see you, Calvin. How you been, brother?
Troy, I appreciate that.
Good, man. Good. I'm gonna just jump in here and tell you that you actually break the norm that we always hear about fighters. We always hear about the fighters, who actually leave the sport broke and they don't have anything. But you left the sport basically with all your faculties, and you actually know what to do with finance. So tell us that story, brother. How did you go from the boxer that didn't know anything to the boxer now that left with all his money and all his faculties and has his own businesses?
Okay, well, first I didn't, I did pretty decent well financially, but at the same time, I didn't make it financial, all the millions that I could retire and not work again. So when my boxing ended because of my retinal surgery in my right eye here, and I'm blind in my right eye, it put me out when I was not ready to retire, and neither had enough money to retire. Then it left me just dangling out here, not knowing what to do with myself. So the best thing people can do is just start at anything, working at anything, and until you just find that niche where you belong. So when I first started, I tried to become a State Farm agency, an insurance agency. Then I went from there to being a commercial real estate broker, and then from a commercial real estate broker to maybe trying to manage a restaurant. Well, learn to manage a restaurant, but that only lasted about 9 weeks. I didn't want to do that. Then I went from there to being a merchant services salesman for about a couple of months. Then from there to becoming a wholesale food distributor. And no, I take back. Then I go all the way back. Right after the commercial real estate broker, I got into roofing. So roofing really took off, and that's what I'm doing today. But at one point it had slowed down, but I was still kind of searching for that next something that to replace that hunger, that dream that I have in boxing. So then in 2012 is when I came across the company I have today, Jackie Landlords, which is a company that's a security deposit alternative company where we allow landlords to lease without a security deposit because landlords contract with us to cover a month's rent, whereas the tenant still pays the cost of our guarantee along with their rent each month to the landlord, and then the landlord pays us. So it makes it it removes the barrier of entry of having to put up a security deposit equal to 1 month's rent or 2 months' rent, which makes it more affordable for tenants and even more profitable for landlords. So that's how things have pretty much evolved with me.
Okay. Hey, Calvin, man, you show wearing cousins, man. You sound like a Jamaican. You did you got in the restaurant business, you did real estate, you did roofing. You sure you're not Jamaican?
Nah, man, I'm not. Man, I'm a survivor.
Man, you're a whole lot more than that, brother.
Yeah, of course, when you first start out these things, man, these things ain't gonna pay your bills. You know what I'm saying? I had done pretty well. Live in a nice house, and I didn't have lost anything. And live a nice lifestyle and everything. And just starting out, it's not gonna pay your bills. And then, at the age of 32 with no experience, you're not gonna get a job that's gonna pay you some multi-six-digit salary to continue on to maintain everything that you accumulated. So that causes you to have to get out here and push a product or start a business, and that's what I ended up having to do.
Okay. Okay. Now, honestly, I want to jump and ask you about your career, but I want to keep it on the business. What did you take from the ring that actually helps you in business right now?
Well, boxing is a business. I mean, you gotta realize the boxer is the product and the service all wrapped up in one person. I mean, he's the product.
Great answer. That's a great answer.
Right. He has to get in there and the product that's also the product of the promoter, the managers, the production company that's selling to the public. And so everything is about the boxer. The boxer just have to put all those pieces together like any business. Any business has their accounting, finance, sales department, production department, a service department, or something like that. It's boxing the same way. The boxer is the product as well as the service that's getting delivered to the public, and the boxer has to put together around him a support team, which is the promoter, the manager, the trainer, the cut man, the publicist. So it's a business that's getting ran, because if something happens to the boxer, then everybody else is out of business as far as that boxer is concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I know you mentioned about your eye. You fought, was it Eddie Chambers?
You know what? I fought Eddie Chambers, but see, it happened training for the Eddie Chambers boxing match in a sparring session. But I wasn't diagnosed. I didn't never go to the doctor and get diagnosed with a detached retina. So having gone to the boxing match, I wasn't diagnosed with a detached retina after the boxing match. So I say, okay, well, it happened in the boxing match because their insurance should pay for it. I wasn't diagnosed previously, so I'm diagnosed after the boxing match. But I already had a red bloodshot streak in my eye. I'm not going to, give Eddie Chambers the credit for doing that to me because it was already done, but I just wasn't diagnosed.
So I want to follow up on that though, Troy. I want to follow up on that one.
Yeah. Go ahead and jump in, brother. Go ahead.
Because I really want to dive into the business things too, but with this particular situation, we have conflicting information when it comes to Errol Spence, right? First it was reported torn, then it was reported detached, right? And obviously you actually had a detached retina. Do you think that because the first report said torn, but we got conflicting reports from Mike Coppinger, who's not in the camp, but he should be privy to that information, and said it was detached, right? So do you see him coming back if it is truly in fact detached, right? What's the major difference for you? Because I actually showed this online last week. I showed the differences between the time frame that you would come back from a torn retina versus detached retina, right? So do you see like his career continuing? You had a detached retina, and that was the end of your career as far as boxing was concerned, right? So what do you think? What are you leaning towards when you hear conflicting information like that? What should we think, right? As just people that are kind of like not privy to the information, we just playing the guessing game as well.
Okay, like Ray Leonard and like a lot of other boxers, they have gotten detached retinas and still came out the retinal surgery seeing, unlike me. I went into my surgery seeing, I came out not seeing. So something in the surgery didn't happen correctly. I couldn't prove it. That caused me to not see out my right eye anymore. Errol Spence very well could, get his retinal surgery and return to the ring if he can see out of his right eye. What happened with me was the first ophthalmologist that I went to told me that I wouldn't be able to box again. I didn't want to take that for an answer, so I went to a second ophthalmologist, and the ophthalmologist said that he could fix it, and then I would be able to return to the ring. And fortunately, I don't. They were with the same. They were with the same company, but this company is big in Charlotte. It has a lot of different locations, and so those doctors know each other very well. So I don't know, and I hate this. I don't see why a doctor would want to do something purposely to when he's in a practice of making people see to not see. All I know is I was a very healthy human being. I supposed to came out to be able to see again and continue my boxing career, but that's not the case that happened. So hoping for Errol Spence's sake that he could come out with a successful retinal surgery, have his retinal attached back, take his break, and then return back to the ring the same way Ray Leonard and a lot of other boxers have.
Gotcha. All right, that's fair. That's fair. I appreciate that, though. We needed your insight for that since you actually went through that, because us as content creators and people just in social media, we really don't know the full story. So we want to hear people that actually had that experience,
And then I must tell you, like, I seen Errol Spence on boxing, on television. From what I can remember, his eyes are set back in his head. And see, most boxers, it's best to have this brow ridge around your eye where your eyes are set kind of back into your skull, where if you get hit like this, the glove is just hitting on your brow ridge and your cheekbone and not hitting in your eye. So if I remember right with him, his eyes are set back. So if he has a detached retina, or a torn retina, it's probably from a thumb. He probably got thumb in the eye.
Gotcha. So while you're sparring, something probably got thumbed in the eye.
Yeah, he must have got thumbed in the eye.
Because you would think that after the car crash, they did MRIs, they did CAT scans, they would have picked that up during that time. So it had to do with some kind of sparring or whatever, right?
Well, yes, like for me, I got hit in the eye. I got glazed across the eye. It was a red bloodshot streak on this side of my eye. So they say sometimes people can take a real strong impact, across the head, and something just shakes the retina and causes it to tear or detach. The impact of the car accident could have done it, or the impact of I don't know, but it's kind of rare you hear about boxers with their eyes set back in their eye sockets, with the brow ridge protecting it and cheekbones to get a detached retina. So
before I introduce my brother Bruce Goes, very, very old school dude, knows a lot about boxing, man. Very knowledgeable. So before I introduce my brother Bruce Goes, final question on that. So what I saw last week, what I shared the screen and I showed everybody. So it says like for a torn retina about 4 to 6 weeks, but then of course you have to recuperate, start training again, then the sparring again and all of that. But with a detached retina, that's like months to a year out, so for recovery, and that's a whole different ball game, right?
So I really don't remember, man. It's way back 2007, 14 years ago. I don't remember that.
That's fair. That's fair then. That's fair. Okay, so Bruce Goes, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Salute, Major Key.
Salute,
Champ Calvin Brock. Pleasure to meet you, brother, man. I was just coming through, listening to you, man. Eye surgery is so important, man. You had a great career, and I just stepped into the show, and I'm kind of like in the audience too, man. I don't really have any major questions for you here, man. Just the importance of the retina damage, man, of the torn retina. We've all been through that, and I go back to when I first heard about it was back in the Sugar Ray Leonard days when he had the detached retina. I don't know exactly how it happened. It could have happened in the Hearns fight. It could have happened with Kevin Howard. I mean, there's so many variations. But now they're so on top of that, and they have such advanced surgery to correct that. You think if they had the surgery that they have today, that you would still be boxing, or do you think you retired at the right time?
I go to the retinal specialist every single year to get a checkup, and far as their technology and advancement, they're pretty much still the same. They have this laser surgery and everything for cataracts and glaucoma, but they haven't, to my knowledge, advanced the retinal detachment technology and surgeries as far as my knowledge. I think today is still just the same as it was some years ago. What they're working on is stem cell therapy.
So do you think Errol Spence is going to go for the stem cell therapy? Do you think his recovery is going to take a long time, or do you think he's going to recover it all and come back?
No, the stem cell therapy be good for if he came out blind and didn't see at all. His retina was like mine. His retina stopped working. His retina kind of died on him. Then he would use stem cell therapy. But in Errol Spencer's situation, I don't know. He just needs to get in there. You know, he probably still see out of his eye right now, whichever eye that it is. You can still see with the detached retina. It all depends on how detached it is. But he just can't let it tear apart like wallpaper. It'll keep tearing apart. And if it gets down to the middle of the eye, then it's irreversibly blind. So he has to get it fixed. So that's going to keep tearing even more. But wherever that tear is, then the vision not going to be back in that area. But that little area may be minute. Hopefully that it is. If it's not minute, then he'll be blind in that area for the rest of his life. But once the vision is gone and that retinal area is damaged.
Irreparably?
Say what?
Is it damaged irreparably? Is that the end when you lose your vision in that from a detached retina?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Wherever the detachment is, you know, the retina is round, but it could be on the 12 o'clock. Well, you don't want to be in the middle of the eye, the 12 or the 6 o'clock, the 12 or the 6. But if it's in the 3, anywhere between the 12 and 6 or the 6 and 12, and when in any of those areas, then that's an area that's not going to have its vision restored. But you know, the other areas of the retina will make up for the lost area, hopefully.
Now, is this a common injury amongst boxers, and a lot of it go undetected because the boxers are, you know, they don't have the you know, the I hate to say the importance, but you know, they don't have the you know, the ability to have themselves checked out like you were and like Errol Spence was.
No, it doesn't go undetected because every year a boxer has to get an ophthalmology test, and then it will be detected through the ophthalmology test. You take the states of Nevada, New York, New Jersey, which are 3 major boxing states. You have to have an ophthalmology test, as well as Texas, to box in those states. So, you know, it has to be at least one done once a year. So for me, my last boxing match was out in California, and no, Washington. It was in Washington. So, you know, Washington was a state that didn't require an ophthalmology test. And had they required it, then I probably wouldn't have passed it and had that last boxing match against Eddie Chambers.
I hear you.
Bruce, let me jump in real quick. I'll give you another shot. Slide encounter with one of the dudes in the chat. He says, besides fighting for the title against Klitschko, who was an opponent that you always wanted to fight and didn't get a chance to because of the injury?
At that time, everybody wanted to box it against Vladimir Klitschko. I mean, he was the champion. So there wasn't, at that time for me, there wasn't anyone that I wanted to box. I didn't get a chance. I mean, you take Les Lewis, Mike Tyson, and Vander Holyfield, they had their run. So, you know, it was out of question with them. They didn't hold a title. So if you're a boxer, you just want to fight whoever has the title. So I boxed who I wanted to box against, and that was Klitschko.
Gotcha.
All right.
Okay, so, and yeah, go ahead, Troy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna jump in because I know you were around the era when two of them were coming in, right? And Bird was established at that point, right, Calvin?
Well, yes. Tua was coming in around after the 1992 Olympics. He was a 1992 Olympian. I was 2000 Olympian. So when I came up, Tua was pretty much wrapping it up. So, you know, yeah, I was just starting on my professional career, and he was pretty much wrapping his up. And then you take Chris Bird, he was still in my era, but he was with Don King. So if you weren't with Don King, then you weren't boxing his boxers anyway. I was with Main Events. So the only way you was going to box a Don King boxer is if it was for a world title. And so Chris Bird lost the world title to Vladimir Klitschko, and then Vladimir Klitschko made his first title defense against me.
You know, yeah, you know what, Calvin? You actually mentioned a name you don't hear much of right now. You know, which is main events, right?
Right.
That was the Duvas. I always things about them, man. How did they operate? I guess out because I always heard that they always took care of their fighters. You know, were they the same as other promotion companies? Were they different? You know, how did they operate? Because I always heard such good things about the Duvas. And
I don't have a bad complaint about them. It was a great experience. That's the reason why once my first 4 years was up with them, I re-signed with them. Most of the bosses re-signed with them. They're good, honest people. And when I talk about the Duvas, I'm talking about Kathy Duva now. I know
yes, Kathy.
Kathy Duva, right?
Right.
She was great to work with. Her and the whole entire team was great to work with. It was a pleasure. I mean, I hear a lot of bad stories about boxers having fallouts with their promoters. I didn't have a fallout with mine. Mine was a easy going, pleasant experience from day one.
Okay. And also you could say that you knocked out a fighter by the name of Lawrence, and he's also one of the few fighters in boxing that doesn't have any knockouts. Mr. Lawrence. What's his I don't even know how to pronounce his first name. Is Zuri? Zuri, yeah. Tell us about that one, man. You know, you're the only one to ever really knock him out. Everybody else might have won on points, or he was stopped by the referee, but you knocked him out for a few minutes, right?
Yes, I did. Zuri was good. It was kind of unbelievable that he didn't have any knockouts at all. I can't say that he had that much heat on his punches and everything, or punches, but usually, I mean, with somebody with his record, you're gonna come across some, tomato cans in the beginning anyway that you're gonna knock out. So it's kind of hard to believe in the ring. It's like I was astonished. This person haven't knocked anybody out as much as he put combinations together, and he was pretty good. And he was in shape. And he was tall. He was good. And he had some, pretty decent wins. So that surprised me that even today that he didn't have any knockouts.
Yeah, you caught him with your left hook, right, and dropped him.
Right.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this is my last question before I pass it back to Major. Question I asked: how do you believe you would do in this era?
This era is tough, man. This era, and this era that we in. I mean, looking at boxing today, all these tall guys are running the division. It went from the Klitschko's to Joshua and Tyson Fury, and then also Deontay Wilder. All those dudes are 6 feet and above, and I know just from boxing against Vladimir Klitschko that when you're dealing with the specimens, and all of them are specimens that don't get tired, are well conditioned, great jabs, good movement, know how to keep their range. It's real hard for a shorter person to contend against that. So I can't sit here and say that, okay, yeah, I would have been champion even in this era. I didn't beat Vladimir Klitschko, and it's boxing. I honestly can't see how I would be able to beat Anthony Joshua. The guy's good, man. He's real good, as well as Tyson Fury. And
Okay.
Deontay Wilder know how to work a good jab. He has great power. He's dangerous from the beginning, from the first round to the 12th round. It's hard for a shorter person, 6'1.5", 6'2", to compete against that in any era.
Well, you know what? That was a very great political answer because you're such a humble brother, man. But let's just say if you had to pick one of them out of the three that you believe you could beat, who would that be?
I would pick Wilder. I'll pick Wilder because I think that Wilder only has power when he's going forward, and when he plants his feet, and he when he plants his feet, you know that's when he's going to throw. He's not going to step outside of his movement and throw, and he's never knocking anybody out going backwards. He's always have his momentum going forward, or just he plants. And he's able to do that though because of his height and his length. He's able to plant because it takes a person 2 steps just to get to him, because he fights in a very conventional way that's very correct, and he throws his jab in a way and position himself just the same as Vladimir Klitschko did, and as well as Tyson Fury. They base themselves extra long and extra hard to get to, so they got extra time to hit you coming in. That's why I say he's still, and then he can move out the way and keep his range. So, but if I had to choose one, I choose him. I would have to go in there and just keep the pressure on him. Never let this person come forward. Or if he come forward, keep him turning.
All right, thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I got
Okay, go ahead, jump in here, Major T. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got a couple questions. I'm gonna pass it off to Bruce after this. But piggybacking off of what one of the things that you said. Yeah, everybody wanted to fight Vladimir Klitschko. So Shannon Briggs' attention was on Vladimir, chasing him around the planet. So he wasn't calling other people out like yourself and others. Things of that nature. But because I remember when he was making his comeback run in the early 2000s, that's when you were getting a buzz. Around 2003, 2004. That's when he was making his comeback run. That's when he was trying to call out Vladimir Klitschko. But for the real question here is a lot of people that don't really follow or just started following boxing. They said that the heavyweight division died because the Klitschkos were running it for so long. After fighting one of them, do you think that it died, or just you think that it's just lack of understanding because the belts weren't here in the United States?
I think it's both. Both. I think that for the heavyweight division here in the United States is always having a domestic champion. Deontay Wilder was brought the hype back to the heavyweight division because he was from the United States. Now that Deontay Wilder isn't champion anymore, you don't hear anybody talking about the heavyweight division. Some people, a lot of I know people in the United States don't even know who Anthony Joshua is. They know who Tyson Fury is because he fought Anthony Joshua. They know who Tyson Fury is because he fought Deontay Wilder. So that's why people know Tyson Fury, but you don't hear people talking about Tyson Fury over here in the United States. So the United States like the historical domestic champion that carries the whole boxing on the shoulders.
Okay, all right. So you feel it's a little combination of both?
Oh yeah, it's a combination of both. That's pretty much it, man. The heavyweight division has always carried boxing in the 80s when Ray Leonard and all his Hagler and Hearns and Duran. The middleweights from carrying it. But since then, it was Mike Tyson stepped in on the scene and carried the division all the way up through. It started dying honestly once Lennox Lewis became champion.
Gotcha.
Good as he was.
So when you're talking from the American perspective, then, so it started dying over here because we kind of like lost interest because we weren't the champions over here, and they were kind of enjoying that overseas. I got you.
Right. Because boxing was huge over there for the Klitschko brothers in Germany. Huge. And it's huge over in Great Britain. Always has been. What them guys make over there, man, it's a dream to make over here. Them guys making several millions of dollars, $3 or $4 million in the heavyweight division, fighting, not fighting for world championships. You won't even get $3 or $4 million over here back in my era for fighting on championship for the most part. So even Klitschko was underpaid, according to how these guys are getting paid today.
That makes sense, man. So Bruce goes, man. Go ahead and you can ask a few questions, man. So I know we had Mr. Brock here for 45 minutes. And so we about getting there. So so go ahead and ask final questions, and then I'll pass it to Troy, and then we'll obviously give Calvin his final words, and then I'll wrap it up for everybody.
I appreciate that, Major Calvin. I just wanted to ask you about what do you think of the state of the heavyweights today? Not so much the champions, the top four that we're all talking about. I'm talking about the guys like Joe Joyce and Frank Sanchez and the Jogba, Dubois, and Big Baby Anderson. What do you think of these guys that taking over the heavyweight division in the near future?
It's sad to say, man, I never heard of any of those names you just mentioned.
Whoa.
I mean, because
no, I understand, bro. Because unless you're following boxing close on, man, these guys are just like names will come in one ear and out the other, man.
Yeah, I haven't heard of. I haven't really been keeping up with boxing like that. A lot of the guys have retired that was around, and then get into other things, taking care of family, working, and having to get to bed, to get up early in the morning, deal with the kids, and not be able to stay up late. So it's just been kind of got off the radar for boxing. So I haven't heard of any of those names. They're all strange names to me.
Brother, I hear you 100%. I was involved in work a few years back where I was watching a fight, but I wasn't even listening to it. I had too much going on in my head, and I know life takes over. Right now I'm fortunate enough where I can get buried in boxing as much as I want to, but man, I understand 100% how these names, unless you're following boxing like we are in this room, man, they're just also ran. And back in the day, boxing was presented to us on a weekly basis on regular television, so we knew all these names. We just if we were in the house hanging with our brothers, we knew all these names just because they were in our living rooms. They were presented to us. Fighters like yourself, we saw them on a weekly basis. But I understand now, unless you're sitting right on top of the boxing game, these names, which they are top names, they're all in the top 10 contenders. You're not going to know who they are because boxing's just not presented in a way where the average fan knows who these guys are anymore. Back in the day, we knew all the top contenders, brother. You didn't have to be a champion, but now, you have to go above and beyond. You have to be a niche, in this sport to understand the names that I just mentioned. But these are the top heavyweights who are going to follow the Joshuas and the Wilders.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
No problem, my brother. Peace.
That's what's up. Troy Grizzy, what you got to say, man?
All right, brother Calvin, thank you. Really appreciate your time. Answer the questions, man. You've always been sharp. You've always been purposeful, and you had a great career. And now you have a social media home. And also, right, we have a segment on the show, I'm sorry, called Business Beats and Boxing, man. And I'd like to have you back to do that segment with us. This way you can talk about your business and how to create wealth after boxing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't even get to dive really deep into that because I actually I worked for J.P. Morgan Chase for 7 years, and I was a supervisor for them, and I was intrigued about the fact that you got a degree in finance and worked for Bank of America, one of the competitors of J.P. Morgan Chase, of course. And looking at that situation during 2008 and all of that, that was one of the avenues I wanted to go down with. But I know our time is limited, so it's all good. We could catch up on that in a future segment. And then also since you're doing a roofing, I was going to ask about the solar panels. Do you see if that's a future and all that? Man, my mind was going everywhere, man. I wanted to talk and chop it up about that, but I appreciate your time, and I did commit to a certain amount of time for you, so I'm gonna stick to the program. So what are your final thoughts? Where can people follow you, and let everybody know how they can support you and your business, and anyone that's in your area that may need some roofing or whatever?
You know what? I do some interviews here and there. You Google my name, you may find some recent interviews that I've done. All business wise or some boxing wise, some just catching up on what I'm doing. I was recently in the New York Post, right prior to the Olympics starting. So they want to talk about that. So I'm getting ready to do more social media on this new business venture that I'm working with now. So So I'm pretty, but I haven't really, can't really tell somebody to follow me on social media. I do have a Instagram and Twitter account, but I don't even know how to tell you to follow me on it because I never check it.
I tell you what you do, Calvin. If anybody asks you where your social media is, just tell them to contact Major Key Boxing. All right? There you have it right there.
Yeah, I need to catch up, man.
Troy always pushes the envelope. I love Troy for that. He always pushes the envelope. Hey,
I mean, you know what? I think there's a lot of people my age, 46, that don't have, huge social media accounts. I feel kind of bad, man, because these politicians do, a lot of older people do, just the way of the world now. And I was just thinking, I got to go ahead and get on board. I really do.
Yeah. Hey man, I feel you on that, man. Like I was hesitant to even start, but then everybody else was doing it. I was like, hey man, I got to at least know what's going on though. Like, why am I falling behind? But listen, man, we do appreciate your time being here. We'll talk on the back end, for future reference. But at the end of the day, we appreciate your time, man. Very interesting stories. Yeah, man. Anybody that live in that area needs some roofing, go holler at your boy Calvin Brock. And with that being said, man, y'all already know Major Key Monday. Salute to everybody in the chat, everybody that came through. We're gonna follow it up by going to UK 47. I think he's doing it on Rap Star Boxing Knowledge channel, not the UK 47 one. So Rap Star Boxing Knowledge is gonna follow up. He's got a couple things to talk about. So anyone still wanting to hear something about some boxing tonight, go ahead and follow up at Rap Star Boxing Knowledge. And salute to you guys. Peace. I appreciate you being here.
All right.
Much respect, brother. Definitely appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.